Okay, we're on.
I wouldn't think that'd make any difference. I haven't noticed any difference, a mile away.
Right.
The birds were actually
One
next.
thing that I keeps between the board, it's like getting on check. They understand what you're focusing on.
It sure looks different though.
No, I don't, I sent it to, and then they never sent that to Kelly. What you have before you tonight, Sherry, those are mine were verbatim.
Well, generally,
Yes, but we did that a long time.
I've gotten all of that, we usually have somebody else there keeping track of us if I started to fill. Thank you all for coming tonight. We all have an agenda in front of us. Do a roll call. Lisa Moore.
Here.
Leroy Ziski. Notice of authorization.
Oh, for
Of
this
dewatering.
Dewatering permit.
Yep.
Dewatering.
Do we have anything else we need to add?
No.
Anybody else? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Motion by Amy to approve the amended agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Jason. Any conversation? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes from last month.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Ken, was that you?
Yep.
Motion by Lisa. All right. I guess, first citizen time. We have some citizens here.
Oh, welcome.
Anything for citizens time? Nothing for citizens time, hearing none? We can move on to new business.
So you gotta approve the minutes.
We have to open a public hearing.
So you're gonna do number one first, so you need notice
Yeah.
of authorization number
We
two.
really have to do,
I just wonder what order you're doing it in, though.
okay, yeah, we're supposed to do the public hearing now, aren't we?
Cause it was published in the paper.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
just was asking if we're doing the dewatering.
According to your agenda, I
No,
would have to
you wanna
approve
do
the
the-
minutes from the
okay.
previous
No, I just wanted
meeting.
to.
Oh,
We did.
we did,
Use,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm sorry, Leroy.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to speak up.
Well, it might
I
help.
apologize. All right, we had nothing for citizens time, so let's, open the public hearing on dragway berm extractive operation. Is that what you folks are here to visit with?
Yes, what is it? Yeah.
this point, the new landowner took the berm that was put there by the previous landowner and moved it out of the way, just, it's all, as far as I know,
That's it.
everything is still on site, the dirt was there, there hasn't been anything moved, there's been no extraction. I think they'd like to at some point perhaps, but at this point, all they did is just move the berm back out of the way so the people that bought the dragway can see the lake.
It's all piled up in front.
It's all piled up along Snow Road. So, this is your opportunity to speak on it. Like, don't like, think it's great. That's what the public hearing, we have to publish it so that the public around can come and talk about it however they feel. That's the whole purpose of it, man.
No, I haven't seen it, so. Where about on Snell is it?
Just on the east side of the dragway.
By the lake, between the lake and
That's
the
right.
dragway?
Yeah, it was between that lake back in there in the woods and the dragway. The former owner didn't like the people that owned the dragway, so he dug a lake and built a berm so he didn't have to look at it.
John Zoll had dug that up, what, 25 years ago?
Yeah, probably
in-
20,
in
25
the
years
90s,
ago. And the new landowner likes the dragway, so they wanted the berm out of the way so they could watch,
See the lake.
essentially watch the dragway.
'Cause the new.
So he just want to remove the dirt?
The berm is removed, the dirt is stockpiled on the property yet.
Okay,
If they choose to move it off-site, they'll have to come back to this group and get a permit to move it off-site, that would be an extraction. So, this is your opportunity to say, yeah, I like it, no, I don't. But that is essentially what's going on, in a nutshell. As far as I can tell.
And the new road is put in and the grass seed's grown.
Yeah,
It does look nice.
yeah, I would say it looks nice. I was glad, you know, we could go.
Really cleaned it up.
So,
So the picture that we see in this pamphlet, the berm is actually is that highlighted yellow area that's, between the lake and the dragway? Right here?
Yep,
That's correct.
yep, that's it, that's been removed.
And it's stockpiled over that big circle is, it's all been piled up a lot.
There used to be an old barn there, and that's where the dirt is piled up.
Which is on Snail Road, right?
right.
Right, yeah, this is Snell Road.
Couple more pages and shows you a circle.
Like 9 acres up the hill.
There's another map.
John Zoll had dug that.
And you see the tree along
Someone got shipped out.
next to the road.
Yeah, he just delivered it. Really? Yeah, they sold the company, moved the berm. Some,
Hmm.
We probably really won't do
his house over here. And that's where his home parents work. That's where his equipment was.
Right.
Description is, 3 acres of berm will be removed from the driveway. It's not good for removal. Strip and removal, topsoil stripped, stockpile, sand will be stripped to ground level in preparation for a 30-foot wide driveway.
And that came from Sanford Road, so you went that road.
Well, that intersection when you did the millings there,
Yeah.
or grinding.
Yeah.
I don't think Zola ever lived there, did he?
Yeah, Zola lived on Snow.
He did live
Yeah,
on
he lived on Snow.
At one time, yeah.
His dad had the farm there by Thompson and Allison, and that's where the equipment was always at.
Okay.
And then when John sold this, he bought the place up there on Sweeney and Harbor Road,
'Cause he
just
didn't
north of
have
Stony
it.
Creek,
Where was the house at?
on Snow.
The
The White
two
House.
houses farthest west,
Okay,
where Nate's at now.
Where Nate's at?
No.
Okay.
okay. No. Anytime you see an improvement, I know. Any other questions, folks?
Is that 30-foot drive or whatever it was already installed, or is that
Yeah,
a
it is.
secondary driveway?
Yep, it's already put in.
But it's just, it's not part of the drag strip,
No, it's actually somebody else's properties, but it does go around all the way through there. He owns both properties.
that's what you're taking, or whoever is taking the soil from, is that other piece of property, correct?
Yeah, it all came
Is
from
the
the same
driveway
property.
going on that piece of property?
It's right where the berm is, right?
Yeah,
The driveway is right where the berm was.
it's on the east side of the dragway.
The driveway's right here.
Parcel.
The driveway, what came in off Snow Road, next, this is the driveway entrance right here.
The road back there is completely soil and stuff, so.
Yeah, I went for a drive back there ways too, went no way to shop and drove back there and shack, guard shack, whatever it is. Drove around and thought, nope. We're saying, can have them get shot at. I'll tell my Mike, one in Township.
So driving the van.
Being the gentleman that owns the dragway owns the property, he owns both properties. If you read through, Kabisky, David Arthur's, report, one of the last things, one of the suggestions was that if they're going to, the dragway is going to use it for any purpose, they recommend that they legally combine the properties, so there'd be one description. So which you can do, you can join those and.
I don't
gives
know
it
what he's
dash
doing yet,
general.
cause he wants to dig a lake, so I gotta find out what he's gotta do.
Wait, he wants to dig a lake now?
Yeah, he wants to make it about a 37-acre lake.
That's what I caught.
Okay.
So the property that's next to the
Yeah,
driveway.
that's not, that's.
No, it's not,
It doesn't
have a
belong-
site plan yet.
This,
Okay,
It don't-
that's a different, that's a
This is
whole
still
different
Zoll's
plan.
project.
yeah,
Okay,
okay, I'll show you.
yeah,
Comes
okay.
up here.
This is specifically for taking the berms, which
That's
have
all it
already
is.
been tore down, which this should have been done before that was retouched.
Well, I asked you guys.
Yeah, I know, that's what we said, it should have gone through this process before,
So-
but being that the soils haven't left the property, it hasn't been, it's not violating the
Right.
extraction permit, so then that's why we're at here today,
It's a straight
with this permit.
flat ground sight line all the way across.
You're planning on
Trucking it out then, is that what?
eventually, yeah, I gotta combine it with the 37-acre lake, so if I gotta spend, $300,000 on a road, I wanna make sure that that's gonna go.
So you'd use that for the road then, is that what you're?
I'm gonna truck, if I truck it out, then I gotta spend $300,000 to
Bring it back?
get out, to get on the road. So I wanna make sure this whole project goes forward before, but I think it is, I'm pretty sure it is.
Does, I remember.
Well, this is a public hearing. Do we have members of the public that'd like to say anything? Okay.
So, okay, because he owns the entire property, so then you'd have to build a road on what used to be Zolo's old property to be able to remove that the soil.
No,
stuff.
actually, I bought that property and then I sold it to him.
Pardon me?
I bought that 40 acres next to the other property and I sold it to him, to Daryl, from the dragway.
Okay, I'm back to where the pond is, that was on originally the Zola property.
He's
Yes.
talking about the one right next to it with the berm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, actually, Zola had that property and the next. one.
right, he had both of those. So, that you bought all of what used to
I
be
bought
Zola
the
property?
the east side 40.
With include the lake,
Yep.
No,
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 not
the,
the lake.
the west side is.
The west side has the
After,
lake.
after the
Right.
second
Yeah,
house?
that's where the lake is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So after the second house, after,
Yeah. Then I bought like
Adams.
those are individual things.
Yeah, but this is
That's not part of this project.
just don't show the property.
Yeah, this doesn't show the property line very good. This is off Google Earth, and it's not a survey.
That's the property right next to that's the one where they took the burn down, and moved the dirt. That's the address for there.
But yeah, the dirt stayed on the same property, same 40 acres.
They're talking about a lot of different things.
Yeah,
You know, I-
We've got this kind of
We get into
scrambled up a
fruit
little.
salad here.
So I think that,
Hmm?
if
Yes,
there's
it
nothing
is.
else, we can, is there anything else to add to the public hearing? The public wanna say anything else? Or we can close the public hearing and go on with our meeting and make sense of things, hopefully.
Public hearing was closed at 7:46.
Okay? We've closed the public hearing at 7:46. Thank you, Leroy.
7:34?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I have down too. I have 5.
Yeah, call it 35. Took us 5 minutes to say it, but. Okay. Is there anything else we need to cover on that?
So what this permit is simply to remove the soil, the berm that's been tore down and stockpiled, and simply to remove those stockpiles.
Yep.
That's all this is. This is
That's
not
it.
about digging a
No,
pond,
no
it's
other
not about
digging.
digging anything, it's about
Just
removing the
move
soil
that material.
and then him putting in the millings driveway that you got around.
But
the
that, yeah, and that's already done.
Yeah,
And the grass seed is growing, and, we'll take the silt fence down pretty soon, cause it's growing pretty good.
So that's just
Like I said,
taking away all the dirt.
this should have been done before that got done.
Well, I'm waiting.
Yeah, I know they didn't haul out, but it
I
would
was-
have been part of
it
the
took,
process. You lay out the whole process, cause, some of us have gotten subpoenaed that we gotta go back into court again. I was supposed to do that last week, and then it got postponed till next spring.
Right.
But needless to say, because you gotta get this stuff and do it in the proper procedure.
I
That's like,
understand,
when
but
you
I-
talked about that back last spring, I said, come in, get
I,
the permits then.
I just now got a haul route, and I have to change some things, and I only have a week. And I need to call me back in a couple of days, and it just got back the other day.
You have
So in order for me to do that,
information.
they gotta give me some time too. They had 6 months after asking the whole time.
No.
At the road commission maps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I just.
He
now
hasn't.
gave me one.
and I can understand that because we dealt with the road commission after
Yeah.
summer, and
Yeah.
no.
So you don't have, a document from the road commission saying approving
I don't
this?
have one that's signed,
That's my question. It's not signed, so it's
Nope.
not approved then.
so it's no good until it's
So
signed.
we should wait till we get all the papers before we get another loss issue.
Or you can make it a condition.
So is that gonna sit there, you just want this just in
I
case? you have
guess
to
it'll
haul it
have to
out, or-
be, a condition that until like the haul route, that none of that dirt gets moved.
I think we've been taught by the supervisor that we should get all the documentation before
Okay.
this starts.
I'll tell you what I think. Do you and I get to decide the haul route? So why do we have to hold up the project while he's waiting on the county?
We're just.
Because in all honesty, it's between him and the county, it's not on us. If the Mets now called somebody and says, what do you
Whatever
think?
wanna do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You wanna do it,
I'm just- I've been,
Not gonna say that I.
no, I don't wanna argue,
I
I'm asking.
know the problem across the road from me, so I know.
Yeah.
Basically, it's started from all the.
I mean, I do agree, so even if we
Supposed to
okay
go out
this,
Pebbles
if
Road, then
they,
it comes out Pike Road.
even if we were to move forward, then he's still gonna have to wait on it either way, but at least he would have to wait on it to come back to us after we
Right.
wait on it originally, so either way, he's still gonna be stuck, even if we approve it until he gets the haul.
Yeah, the permit doesn't get issued until the, haul
Yeah.
route is in place,
So I don't think
signed and approved.
I think it would only be, I don't think it would really help. I mean, all it would do is delay him a little longer, which I don't see how it would benefit either way, I guess, personally. You know, I think that whatever we decide, yes or no, whatever, but even if we say yes, he's still gonna have to wait. That's what my point is, until the all bounce done, so.
How many trucks do you think it's gonna take to haul all that out? Right?
We'll probably have to screen it first and then,
Screen it right on site?
yep. So, it'll be, it's probably gonna be at least a month and a half anyway, because I wanna deal with Matt, and I talked to him today, and we're gonna make a haul route for the lake and for this project at the same time, so that it's covers both of them. And he was good with that, kinda coming up, with how many acres we're gonna do, and he'll give me a haul route. I've already had one, but he's gonna have one, it's gonna say a lake, say a 40-acre lake and this berm at the same time.
So you're trying to get one haul permit right now for.
Yeah, so it's all ready to go, and then when I do this project, the haul routes will be already in place.
Right.
So are you saying that then other places that he's talking about big it is? No. And those trucks?
He's got a bunch of projects. Plus, 3 or 4 other projects.
Would that lake take off from this original lake?
Yeah, and then go towards the, all the way to Connie, or actually, it's keep up Connie, Anchor property too. So yeah, he owns all the way to Uphill.
I've got a question, just because we talked about this back spring, and I've got to give you a hard time. I'm reading this piece letter is dated June 22nd.
Yep.
And the application had gone in back in the beginning of June. Why is this getting to us now?
I think he was with the haul route.
Connie, or Penny's had so much trouble with this court case that she'd like to see a haul route before anybody.
And so you've been dealing with Matt Snell and Monroe County Road Commission since June, to get this all permits?
Yep.
I've heard 50 get off lands, and they're still buying land around it.
If that's the case, doing that to a business or anybody, the road commission would be that lethargic. If we go through it, if we want to do a conditional approval, and then it's not, you can't have a permit until he brings that all in, we agree.
At least we're gonna save him a little bit of
Yeah,
time.
he's waited 5 months, that, once I started reading through this, I'm like, no, wait a minute. What we'd suggested when we first contacted the township and called some of the planning commission members, is like, hey, you gotta get these permits, you gotta go through, get the extraction, and that's what we advised him. And I was sitting here kind of frustrated when I get all this stuff and I start reading through it, and come to realize that he did it back in June.
Right.
And here we are in November, and we've been waiting because of the Monroe County Road Commission. That all the more leads back to our haul ordinance that we're going to change, because it's the road commission's responsibility that we don't hang somebody up because of their inept process on it. Because I had a conversation with Matt Snell, and he asked me a boatload of questions back here last summer. It was a different project that was going on, but he didn't understand the history. I pointed out because we've had a number of times where people have contacted the Monroe County Road Commission, have asked for haul permits, and they review it and they says, you don't need a haul run, you don't need a haul permit for what you're going to do. And I told him to write it in a letter, give them something in hard copy that documents that they do not need it, because then lawyers start chasing things around, they're suing the township, suing the property owners. Put it in writing that he does not need a haul permit. He said that made sense. That was back in June.
It may have been started at the May meeting with
Yeah,
Craig
no, I'm
Blankenship
talking about
was
my
here.
conversation with Matt Snell was back in June.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, at the same time, I gotta try to get along with everybody else.
I don't-
I apologize.
No, that's all right. I understand you guys do have to go from, once they pass that, maybe change states.
okay.
But at the same time, I still don't wanna, go without a haul route, so I still want one.
I saw that when I read through it on the computer, first, last week. You basically, you've done enough of these, you know what you're gonna all have, you got all the legal descriptions, and then, Manick and Smith had their, portion in there.
Our ordinance has a time frame in it now. Yeah, I don't even remember what the time frame was, but I think we beat the time.
Well, why don't we just read out loud in case somebody's watching from home what the concerns of the engineer, township engineer David Arthur, consultants, Inc. My concerns are the following: when the berm is removed, verify the location of where the soils will be trucked, confirm a wetland or a floodplain is not being filled, confirm that the location will not be near the property line so that it does not add to the flood adjacent. Even our township ordinance already says it can't be closer than 100 feet. We already do that. Number two, contractor to obtain soil erosion permit from the Monroe County Drain Commission. I think you've done that. That's in there. When I read that, because then your permit certification with the state was July of 26. So next year you're doing that. If the property is used by the dragway, that's why he recommend legally combining the properties. That is going to come back to the property owner. Obtain a haul permit from the Monroe County Road Commission, which you're in the process. And then 5, confirm the grading when completed to drain per drawings, arrows, recommending needing a straw to minimize erosion, which you've already got stuff seeded in. So that was the only concern. The fact that Kavitsky wrote up a 1-pager, that's rare. Usually his stuff is 2 or 3 pages.
That was my interpretation, is there was, there wasn't much there.
Right.
I printed off his, I wasted my own paper, there was nothing there.
All right.
Make a motion to approve it because of the culvert.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second for the motion?
I'd rather hear the motion first.
She said she wanted to approve it on the contingency that he gets his haul route. So now, if I understand things right, he does not actually get his permit until he shows you
Right.
the haul route.
Right.
So is that not just as good as, and more time saving than saying we have to vote on this next month? So,
Yeah.
I think, that's the way we've done them.
Due to the fact that he's asked since June
Yeah.
to get this haul route.
You know, okay, so we have a motion by Amy, and we have a second by Jason to approve this extraction. Do I hear any more conversation? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right. The next one that we added is this, information from Eagle, the notice of authorization. That's the next thing on the agenda. I'm glad you went ahead and got this. I'm still a little bit unclear as to exactly
back
site
and forth
plan.
with the Eagle.
Okay.
Have some of them say we don't need it, the other ones say that we do, and so we said, let's just go ahead and do it so that we don't have to worry about it.
Okay, so you done this as more or less to make sure you dotted all the i's and crossed
Yep.
all the t's,
Yep, that's what I went that, what route.
okay? So, it doesn't require an additional change to the flight plan. Can I make a suggestion that we, make a motion to place this on file?
Motion to receive it.
Motion to receive it, place it on file.
It's- If you dig out your original site plan for that Okie Road plank, and you go through the whole thing, this is exactly what was asked, what was originally designed, but because of some disagreements between property owners, where the culvert was going to have the water outflow for the discharge, what this is a discharge permit, basically, to a certain extent. You still gotta get an NSP
Yeah, it's not,
permit on that, national pollution
well, actually, I don't have to
You-
have one unless water goes through the tile.
tile.
And the water table's down 5 feet and the tiles are like 3.
And you're utilizing the surface aquifer, surface water. And so there is no impact on any homes per se. And the fact that it has 2 ponds there, hydrogeologically, pumping it from one pond to the other, you're acting as a recharge, it has a mounding effect. It's keeping the water level pretty much constant, other than a little bit of a cone of depression on a very specific site where you're dewatering. And so then this was what basically come about somewhat because you had some excessive rain or certain times of year that you had more water that you might have.
Some years the water table comes up high, like 2 years ago.
We had a lot of
And then
rain.
down, it's staying 5 feet down.
Yeah.
And there's three different, actually, I split the one so that we got 3 different ones so that we can keep, that way we can keep all the water on the north side.
And it also retains for sediment then too.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely does.
And which pond you pumping out of?
We're gonna be pumping out of the one on, northeast, and it's gonna go to the west.
So you're not pumping out of the south one?
No.
How big is the?
Well, actually, no, we're not gonna for quite a while. We can if we need to.
Question is, how big is that pond?
It's gonna be 27 acres on the north side and 10 on the south side.
Or 23 on, the original site plan was 23.04, and then the second pond was 10 point something, and that was with that berm
Oh,
in
yeah,
between them, and
that's
then you
true.
were gonna remove the berm when you
But
were
we're
done.
not, that berm's gonna stay as it is.
Right, that was part of the initial
Part of the
plan.
draft.
Well,
the
then
center.
those two done.
Pardon me?
23.04.
Yeah,
And
and 10 point
10.04.
something.
23.04.
Yeah.
On the transferring of the ponds, it doesn't affect the water table in the surrounding area, will it?
No, it doesn't. And there's been a couple hydrogeologic studies over there because of the sand that took place on federal lease from back in 2015. That we reviewed it back in 21 when the project first started. And because it's a sand aquifer, it doesn't change. The impact is that somebody's got a shallow point and they're irrigating a greenhouse, because we did manage to find that on one pond situation that they couldn't figure out why their monitoring wells kept having a lower draw there. Well, it turned out in the spring, they were actually irrigating a couple greenhouses from shallow point wells. So they were doing the drawdown. And, because the water was there and it should have been mounded, because they even had dug a separate little pond, pumped the water into that to keep the water recharged because of what he was pulling out of the shallow aquifer. And because it's Oakville sand, it perks like 3 inches of water per hour. We've got a shallow point monitoring well in the back of the township that we put in back when USGS had the deep well one. We put in a shallow one because of the London aggregate operation. And holy smokes, we get that shallow point well. When they did the test run on that, it was pumping 15 gallons of water a minute. There's that much water in that shallow sand. Because, yeah, dig a hole and wait till tomorrow you can get your feet wet. And so basically the hydrogeologic, it's not a problem. And then also due to the fact, and it's referenced in Mannequin Smith's documentation, the fact you're pumping from one to the other, it's balancing, it creates a mounting. We did the same design over in London Aggregate when they did the pond on the north side of Darling Road, because there was concern about the shallow aquifer. Some people did have shallow points. So what they did is when they started that pond, they had dug up a pretty big ditch all the way around the perimeter of the property. All the water from that site got pumped into that before it went all the way around, then went across the road. So essentially it created a mounting effect, putting recharge on all the other people's property, and some might not want one if they had a basement kind of a situation.
Yeah.
But that's how we did that. We had they had the hydrogeologic, with the geology department at the University of Michigan. I'm drawing a blank on his name, he actually came out and did a review on the site and was there when it was being discussed and put together. So it's not a new concept.
If we get to a point where where we're exceeding the capacity, we're getting to the overflow, we're getting to the tile, we have a cutoff, right? So
Yeah, and that's what it
we're not
says.
threatening
The
neighboring
Eagle-
properties, yeah.
Eagle says, okay.
I'm saying this more to acknowledge it as a built into the thing for the sake of residents that I know are concerned in the area, who have basements and have experienced,
I printed off my version, I underlined a couple of those things that stated that if the outflow exceeded a certain amount, they had to revisit it, and then that was gonna need a different discharge
Do you
permit.
have a printout of the
Fine.
Eagle?
I don't, 300 pages, I only did one,
Yeah, what Eagle had put
or
down.
two copies
think
rather.
Yes, he seemed like he have a small one.
Exception
Well,
agreement.
we can have,
Okay, the permit is in excess of the authority granted by this permit shall not cause unlawful pollution as defined by in rebuff. Permit shall be kept on site. We're gonna see that when it exceeded that, they had to then revisit. Transfer can be revoked if they, in criminal and or civil actions as cited in the specific state act, federal act, and under the rule which this permit is granted. So, all dredging or extracted materials shall be disposed in the upland site, outside floodplains, and wetlands. A lot of this is just boilerplate language that they have in all their permits. Okay, here it is. P, because I underlined it. If any changes or deviations from the permit activity becomes necessary, the permittee shall request in writing a revision of the permit activities from Eagle. Such revisions requested shall include complete documentation supporting of the modifications and revised plans detailing the proposed modifications. Proposed modifications must be approved in writing by Eagle prior to being implemented. Yeah, I've had way too much caffeine this week.
Okay. So we need a motion to place this on file?
You did the motion to place it on file. Oh, motion to receive.
Motion to receive.
Motion to receive it?
Yeah.
Place it
Did
on
anybody,
file.
ever, yeah, everybody,
Did we
you
vote
did a
on it?
motion, no, I don't think you ever did.
That's what I was gonna say, I talked about it.
Second
Yeah.
motion?
You gotta go back to your motion originally to
Yep.
receive?
Yep, well, make them, I could make it, generally I don't.
I think you
but-
did, I
You
thought.
did.
Well,
You
I
already
said
did.
I'm looking for, I think, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he'd suggest.
Yeah,
He
I
led.
made a
He was a good
suggestion.
leader, he led.
Yeah, I'm the chairman, I really don't need to run the thing, I'm
No, no, I
supposed
just
to
thought
keep
that you
square.
did, sorry.
So would somebody else like to make a motion to place this on file? That would be my suggestion.
I
Well, do you
will
wanna make a motion to receive it first?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to receive the Eagle dewatering
And I'll
for,
second
And Amy will
Site.
second it.
where's the parcel number here?
Oh, it's up at
I
the,
think it's this one here.
It's
right?
permit number WR
usually
I'm looking at
46670.
Alright, so I'll make a motion to receive the Eagle dewatering permit.
permit number, and then use that property number.
WRP 046670
Yep.
V.1 and the parcel number is 5810-033-028-70.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
and Amy seconded.
And this is essentially an Eagle permitting of what was the initial water management
Yes.
strategy. So it's more of a realization than a.
All right. Hearing no more conversation, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
One more thing, did you, so we did the, receive, now, did you, would we do another motion? Or is that-
No, that should take care of it. We received it, you gotta put it in the file.
received it, gotta put it in the file somewhere, right, Mike?
Yes.
Okay,
Many, many things.
okay. All right, vote to recommend the final draft of the extractive operation haul route amendment.
So again, what you have there is the draft we approved with the changes that we wanted to see, and then you have a final version with those changes actually made. And the board asked that we present them with that final version, not just the one with the changes we approved, or we are requesting, or recommending.
The only question I have, is you need to think about anyway, is like where you stated in section 2, the amendment of zoning ordinance, and we probably should put 30 in there, even though it is the zoning ordinance. And this would be representing ordinance 30, not some additional ordinance somewhere down the road. And that would be true of all the headings, so. My comment.
The clerk's got the book that puts that number on, right?
Well,
Should it?
That numbering, the numbering that is reflected on your copies, both the draft, or, the proposed changes and the final version, those numbers match the numbers in the
ordinance 30.
2007 zoning ordinance. So in other words, those will fit right in.
2007 zoning ordinance, it was called ordinance number 30.
Okay. Anyway, as written, those should be able to, if you had a physical document with the 2007 ordinance, you could drop those right in and they would read as part of the, so they're supposed to be a finished draft with the matching bulleting and everything.
Right.
Just do what you want, that's my suggestion.
Right,
What were you suggesting, Leroy? Sorry, I kinda missed that. What was your,
Hmm.
what were you suggesting?
Well, the zoning ordinance, we're making amendments to the zoning ordinance 30 from 2007, was that when it was?
It's 2007, I believe is the,
2007.
I've got it here.
That's when ordinance 30 was created. And we have, because these ordinances aren't standalone, the pond ordinance, the extraction ordinance, it's all part of the, it's like right in the book. Well,
right.
you can, I wanted him to bring, I made some copies of the index to kind of make it more clearer. But if you look at the index in Doug's book there, you'll see, I got one here too, that you'll see that the sections that we're referring to are documented in the index. And so we should always reference the zoning ordinance when we're talking about it, the actual number, so you know what book it belongs to. So 10 years from now, if you come up with ordinance 40, and somebody said, well, you got these changes you forgot to make, or something, who knows?
What, now at the top, would we put 30 here?
Yes, you could put it there, be sure, so. But see, you're relying on a clerk that probably doesn't remember this stuff is the problem, okay? In 2007, if you look around the board, I guess Doug and I were here at the time, so.
Right.
Yep.
So you got it. That's why when if you saw the amendments we made, or I had made over the years zoning ordinance number 30 and the, usually a date and time or whatever, like modifying the pond or extraction or whatever. Same thing with, because these ordinances aren't complete because a zoning ordinance has to explain statements that are used in this document. Some other person might interpret that statement meaning something else, where you, in our ordinance, you've got a section that covers all the uses of terms. So, but might get overwhelmed today, so at the next meeting, we can talk about it.
Yeah, I think I'd like to make a suggestion. The zoning ordinance, I'm looking at it right now, it doesn't have the 30 on it. And I'm sure Leroy's right, and what I'm maybe suggesting is that we, now, since these amendments match the current ordinance as it sits, both here, multiple copies around the building and on the website, we dovetail those in and then we readopt or reinstall the 30 as a separate function. That way everything ties together without the need to, you understand, add a 30 to these that isn't reflected in the full ordinance of the moment.
Well, that's,
It's the key to this whole thing is what's on the top line. An ordinance to amend London Township ordinance section, and it's the 5.605.
right.
And then the other one is the 5.604.
So it should already be in there in the
So
same
those
spot.
are the key things, because that's telling you where this language goes in this.
Yeah.
And what we were talking about is the formality of, that this is ordinance 30 is this entire book, right?
Right.
No, so this mess is ordinance 30.
When we adopted that
As of
ordinance on the
July-
board, that was
Right.
called.
January
ordinance
1st,
30.
Okay,
2007.
But that's still spot.
thanks for clarifying that, cause I was looking in here thinking this is 5.605 and 5.604. So this is 30, okay.
Yeah, the whole book is 30.
The whole book is 30,
So if you want to just write 30 on that ordinance number.
whole book. Well, no, cause we're putting this in as
Yeah, it'll work out.
5.604.
And this is the actual one that we voted on and approved back in September, but because it didn't have a clean copy, they didn't receive it or approve it. So then, when that came back, I rewrote it, cleaned it up, because I had done the work on the original one. Once that was cleaned up, I sent it back to Mike and to Penny, you sent it to Carrie, Carrie reviewed it. This is word verbatim what I wrote up back in September. Then, for being that we talked about the pond ordinance, which we didn't act on, that would be, and we discussed it, because I had written it up then. I wrote up the clean version and submitted that, so that way they're both germane, that they both complement and, you know,
They
dovetail
essentially
into each
read
other. They
the
read-
same, so
Yep.
there's no
Yes.
confusion.
Yeah.
So he says, well, one ordinance says this and this other one says something slightly different.
Right.
We want them to be consistent.
So-
Yep. And both have been drafted by Doug and vetted by Carrie, and what you're holding is that final product.
And the difference is Carrie sent you a bill and I didn't.
That's right.
We'll have to have a meeting after the meeting to decide how to do that, Doug.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, first one we have the extractive operation. Extractive operation is one for 5.604. This is what we wanted, right?
Yep.
So, I'm looking for a motion to accept this and send it to the board.
So move.
Moved by Doug, moved by Doug, seconded by Ken. Any more conversation? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Opposed? The next one, final draft of the pond and haul route amendment
I'll make a good
is
motion.
5.605. Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion, to approve the haul route 5.605.
Okay, motion by Ken, looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Amy. conversation? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? The motion is carried.
You can also look, you know, the second page has got where, I worked that up, cause I put that all in color, so it's really easy for everybody to understand.
so there's no
What we moved, that there wasn't something slid in there, hid in there.
So,
Now,
Okay.
the adoption date is going to be when the township board,
Right.
Right.
be a week from
Yeah,
tonight.
they'll fill that out.
well,
Yeah.
You prepared to explain this and so that we can get this done now?
I sure made too much explaining, I think that it's, we went over this enough.
Well, we kind of thought that a month, 2 months ago.
Yeah,
In
well,
September, we
it
skipped
wasn't
the
me, it
October
was-
meeting.
It was because, I got it, though, we're good.
Okay. All right, there's nothing else on.
One thing I
the-
wanna know about is the Conex ordinance.
You know, I was gonna put that on with them, but it just, we've got so much.
Can you put that one on next
Well,
month?
yeah, definitely, we'll do that at our next
We
meeting.
did all that work and it's.
Yeah, no, believe me, it's, again, I
Okay.
wanted to put it on, but, you know,
I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, we were,
Let's move on to second citizens time.
I got a question on the berms on Okie Road. I wanted to leave the grass grow on the berms. And we talked about that a long time ago when we first did it, and I didn't think nobody had a problem with that. But then Mike's getting complaints. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that.
what's the complaint?
Complaining, they want me to mow the berms.
Well,
They want me to mow them, the complaint they want,
they're all weeds right now.
yeah.
There's
Well,
grass.
there's grass
seeded-
under it,
There's
but-
grass under there, so over the winter, the weeds will go down, and next spring you'll see the grass.
Yeah,
It'll be just like any other berm, like Cooper's berm and the berm
London
at this,
Ag.
London Ag, the berm right down
One
here
we
at
just
the
took
state
down.
project. I think you're fine.
okay.
I mean, that's my opinion. I-
It's the neighbors.
I think it helps as far as blowing any kind of dust, because if it goes across the sand pit, it hits the grass and
Right.
it stops right there. If you had it mowed, it would just go right over top of it and keep going.
Well, in the meantime, if we'd had a rain event that would've washed it, the weeds would have helped, and as the grass becomes mature, the weeds will hopefully get.
Yeah.
I remember going by there one day when I was going that way, and seeing the dozer and the dragging it, so I thought it looked like it was.
What's interesting about the conversation was we looked, quarry, with the whole house is over there from him, so. So they're much bigger.
Well, that's true.
They also had a lot of problems with dust, more than I did.
I think more.
Well, that's a fair point, Roy. Did that berm get mowed started because of the portion in Milan Township or Dundee Township, so they just extended it on into London for us?
I have no idea. I went to that meetings and
Right.
there was.
Cause
they
I mean-
were mowing the berm. That's all I can tell.
Cause over here, London, this London Sand Quarry, berm's been there as long as I've lived around the township. And now we sold it to the state, it's a state park, that's not mowed.
And the one in Dundee doesn't,
That's a
isn't
good
mowed
point.
either. That's not mowed.
I
And
think Leroy's.
No, not in the Dundee area, it's not.
Along,
It's got trees growing on it and everything else. You go down Azalea Road, and there's trees and it's still growing.
huh,
They don't mow that one, they only mow the
I
one
don't go
in
down
London
Azalea
Township.
Road, it's the only time I go to quarries with
And I
a
think
truck.
that was a condition that they come up, but
That'd be Milan Township.
no, London Township.
Azalea Road is Milan Township, sir.
Okay, Milan Township, then they don't mow that on the inside.
No, you're right.
No, I think London Township told them they had to do it, that's why they're doing it.
On our side.
Yep.
Well, that's a fair point.
On a different, because of the berms and it's got grass and then maybe some of us that we have filter strips in the conservation reserve with USDA, which it basically is to prevent any kind of soil erosion or any kind of nutrient migration off your property. We are not allowed to mow any of those filter strips other than about 3 weeks in August, from the 1st of August till the 22nd of August. You cannot mow it. The reason why is because they want for wildlife, they want it for nesting, they want, if there's any kind of wildflowers or anything with pollen, for pollinators, for bees, for honey production. And you need bees for food anyway, that pollinate our vegetables and tree nuts and tree fruits. But back to, the berm, the situation that we got in hand, it's for, and due to the fact that you've got water there, chances are you got some ducks that land in your area. And so there, by having that basically natural, maybe looking.
Well,
there's
there's
some
an
needs.
nest on it.
Yeah, that they'll nest up in those berms, and so therefore you want wildlife, and that's part of the draw for living in a rural area. You really don't want them.
Well, property south of mine, or west of mine, he has to burn his fall, or not every year.
Oh, it's filter strip?
No, it's the whole fields and everything, knocked out to the east, so we don't have to wait for something like that, so.
West of you.
Yep. I won't be ready.
It's one of the management, you can,
It's a
periodically you gotta do the
situation,
maintenance.
which is,
That
he
you-
has to stop the migration of seeds and stuff that he probably.
Okay.
But they have a controlled burn. I didn't see them this year, but they did last year. It was a controlled burn.
Okay.
Part of the agreement is the management of that usually about the 5 year, you can either burn it, lightly disc it, and then mowing in some situations is optional, but you want, most guys do mow it because you don't want noxious weeds and the seeds to take off. So that's why mowing is the easiest one, and even though you're not required to do the mowing every year, most folks with filter strips do. But burning is a viable option. That's one of the things the USDA allows or recommends.
Anything else for second citizens time? Thanks for coming, folks.
Yeah.
Nice to see people.
Hope to see you next month.
If there's nothing else, is there any commissioner comments? Leroy, anything else? Oh, well, Jason, Amy? All right then, I guess we know what the last motion is.
Motion to adjourn
It's 300 something pages. Here,
The
what-
small one that they.
Oh, yeah.
Seconded by Amy. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for coming.